Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, know nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Just wanted to always say thank you at the beginning of every episode because we always appreciate everybody that tunes live and listens in the replays. Always bringing you all quality content. Today we're actually just in the swing of things and are actually doing an interview with an entrepreneur, investor. Just wanted to talk to someone that's made their transition from one element to another element of the four quadrants of Rich Dad Poor Dad show. Definitely want to give appreciation and thanks to Robert Kiyosaki, longtime mentor, for introducing us to the ESBI thought process. And the thought process that people have coming from transitioning from one place to the next. So today we're actually going to do an interview with an entrepreneur that has seen Trust Christian and evolved and make that transition from the early days, from ESBI over to the I's, and so we just really want to give thanks in that situation, and as well actually interview someone that we've seen go through that process, and just someone that's really showed a lot of nimbleness in business, someone that has shown how you go from one company to the next company, and then put yourself in a position to win long term somewhere in your life, and continuously planning out your goals, continuously evolving them. But this isn't someone that's in trustee training. This is just an entrepreneur that we know that is not in trustee training. So this is not a trustee training conversation. It's actually more of a transitional conversation for a lot of the people that may have jobs, and someone that needs to know the thought process of how to be nimble, how to have the confidence to go from one industry to the next. And so we're doing an interview with someone that does come from a strong mind, strong background. Stives, who we'll be interviewing today, Stives is someone that is very successful in the military, has a good military background, has actually won a medal in the military. If he wants to share what medal it is, that's perfectly fine. But definitely has won a medal in the military, and just continue to live his life, and then went from military life over to civilian life, and has joined in the private sector with not necessarily ease, but made it a point to transition, and just made it a point to continuously grow. We always were appreciative of this relationship and our journey. So, wing buddy, someone we've seen in business grow throughout the years, someone that we obviously know has integrity, someone that really has made that transition with the vault, and just with their own business. So we have Styles on the line. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. We got Memphis, Tennessee tuning in live, listening to replay. Shout out to Memphis, Tennessee. Feel free to type into the chat where you're listening live from. But once again, this is the Vault episode 303 ESBI. Could be as well called the transition process, the transitioning process. So Styles, how you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm feeling great. It's 80 plus degrees. And, I'm just blessed I was able to connect with you again. It's been a long time.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You say it's 80 degrees. It's not 80 degrees everywhere, but it's 80 degrees where you're at. So definitely happy to hear that. Happy to have you here with us. We've known you, as a pup in business. I think anytime you're in business under your 30s, you're still a puppy in business. You don't even have a quality 10 years in unless you literally win in your industry at 18. But let's just talk about the time when we connected and we first met, and we were budding entrepreneur still. I think for me it was probably probably like 24. So just knowing you for a long time now, and 24, being able to connect with you. What did you at that time, the business that we were in, which was the marketing business, and it was independent contractor work? What were your thoughts then? What made you do that style of work as far as marketing? What made you step out and say, I can do this? What made you, and I know I'm asking you quite a few questions, but I want to still allow you to answer the question as well. Um, but what made you get into that style of business? And then we connected, and I actually joined you in that venture with the marketing, and we started, doing marketing and things of that nature as a transitional process for myself, actually. But point being is for you, what made you do that venture? What made you successful in that venture? How far did you go in that venture? Period of time too as well. Like how long, from what age to what age, or from what time to what time did you do that venture as far as the marketing business and things of that nature, having a marketing company, working with Fortune 500s?
Yeah. So, doing promotional marketing was very foreign. I didn't think it was like a legit industry. Someone had actually asked me to do my very first event, which I turned down because I just thought it was a scam. They were like, hey, I'm doing an event for the new Apple iPod, and it's going to be at University of Maryland, and it pays $22 an hour. And I was like, what? Like, why would Apple want to give me $22 an hour? Like, I don't know too much about Apple. So I, kind of like a lot of people, when you hear something that's too good to be true, a lot of times, you kind of brush it off or don't, take it seriously. And then some things happen. And then I reached back out to my friend and said, hey, those events that you were talking about, right? Do you still do those? He's like, well, yeah, there's one that I need coming up. They need some people. So my very first promotional marketing event was with T-Mobile at the National Harbor, and it was for $22 an hour, same price. And I just remember that because at that time, I didn't believe that you could make that much per hour without a college degree, or, while keeping your clothes on, if you may, right? I was just like, who's going to just pay someone off the street to $22 an hour at that time?
Mm-hmm.
So after doing that event, I just loved it. It was, love at first sight. I was just like, wow, I get to be me. I get to use my energy. I get to be creative. And then one of the biggest things that I saw from it was that I get to keep IP. I think people underestimate IP so much that, even with a good paying, and, obviously we made a lot more since then. The jobs have paid a lot more after that. But, even with a good pay, even if you're working with Nike, Adidas, New Balance, Reebok, you name it, and they let you keep the shoes, all these great hookups you can get. At the very end of the day, the most valuable thing you can get when working for 500 company, or any company for that matter, would be the IP. For those listening, obviously, intellectual property, basically, the ins and outs, the questions that you can ask during the training, and so that's some of the things that I still use to this very day from many, many of my events over the past 10, 12 years. And so what happened was, after that event, I told myself, I was like, I'm going to do this full time. And I would set alarms on my phone to check different websites, check Craigslist at the time. Back in 2010, I believe it was, Craigslist was still credible for finding, honest work. So I was literally checking Craigslist 3 to 4 times a day. I'd be out at dinner, checking my phone. Let me see what events are available. Then, connecting with other individuals who were already in the mix. And after that, it really showed me that, one, if you can learn, really excel in this business, right? Because we would have to often do multiple events in a day. And then, sometimes you'd be marketing a product that you're just seeing for the first time. How can I confidently speak on that to a bunch of strangers? Which, speaking to strangers is his own skill.
Yep.
So that was something that felt so natural for me, just speaking to people. So then learning is something I just love doing. So I was just like, oh, this is great. Like, I really get just to be me. It's just the only thing that changes is what color khakis I'm wearing that day.
Right. And it's interesting because, we could talk about a lot of different stuff. I want to talk about, I always love talking about the dark side of like every business venture because, everybody likes to talk about the glorify, you're going to make all this money, everything's going to be fine, you're going to protect your assets, you're going to save some money, blah, blah. All right. So let's talk about the transition process where there's a specific relationship you're working with the family that has the boat. They live in Annapolis. Um, I want you to talk about because I really want to talk, and I want to go to the other gentleman's name that begins with a K, because I want to talk about outgrowing business partners and uh, outgrowing people, where you have to leave relationships behind. I want you
Yeah.
to talk about that.
Oh man, I love that topic, man. So I have a theory, kind of like a mantra that I live by, man, like a concept, right? It's called the caterpillar theory, and I'm gonna make it short. It's a true fact. Every single caterpillar in the world will transform into either a moth or right. But now, as we often know, moths are very monochromatic colors. They fly towards artificial light. They don't even really fly the same, right? But now butterflies, very vibrant colors. They go towards natural sunlight. They flutter. They float when they fly, right? So what happens is, and I see with a lot of people, in a sense of there's all these different situations, whether it's music, sports, our industry, right? You can meet people along your path, and they might not look at you as being a butterfly, right? They don't see you morphing in your cocoon stages into this butterfly. They think you're a one-trick pony sometimes, like a moth, right?
Hmm.
And so very similar with the family business in Annapolis. I think they saw me as a caged butterfly, right? They were helping me tremendously. I mean, even to this day, there's partnerships that I have gotten from domino effects of working with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Opportunities I've gotten. But when the time came for me to really start flying more, they didn't want me to do that in representation of them. No problem. I know where I want to fly to, so I'm not going to stay in the cage. And then with the other gentleman with the K name, I really looked at it as that was a little bit more of like Russell Westbrook, if you may, right? Russell Westbrook is going to get a triple double no matter what. He doesn't care if the team wins or loses. He's going to have a triple double. He'll take a rebound from his own teammate because he needs to get that. And whereas though, like, he wanted me to be good just for whatever reason, even though I was representing his company, he didn't want me to shine brighter than him when naturally the torch was going to be passed just because of age.
Yeah.
I think he was about 13 years my senior. So, it's still in great shape. But when you're doing certain businesses, you kind of have to be able to really swim with the dolphins, if you may. And if you can't swim with the dolphins, a lot of people won't correlate what you're trying to do when you can't really be in the mix. So, but again, even with that relationship, that partnership, that taught me a lot. I mean, I learned a lot about writing, learned a lot about graphic design, learned a lot about creating flyers, working with multiple different organizations, gotten to sit in with, the VPs of all these different charitable and non-charitable organizations. So everything that I say is the same that I say about all my opportunities. You can take back the uniforms, you can even take back the money, but the knowledge that I've learned and experienced is invaluable.
Right. And that's where, we get into this whole thing of like everybody's so old and lethargic. Oh man, I can't go from this business to that business. It's like, are you not reading statistics? The average person, even with a college degree, will have 5 careers in their life. So what makes you
Wow.
think that you don't need? You can Google it. You can find the stats somewhere. It's on the internet. Major organizations they track people to see how many careers they have, even ones with degrees, and they see that they don't stick in one career field.
Right.
So even if you don't have a degree, it doesn't make a difference. You have to be nimble. And this is what this conversation about. It's about a conversation of, okay, yes, Styles may have had a job at 18, 19, 20 years old. But at one point, you got to break the mold, whether it's of your family or whether it's of your own, if you want to do that. And so what we're talking about is the transition process because yeah, we started at smaller, things, smaller projects where maybe you had to contract with another family. That's why we're talking about those business relationships where because you outgrow relationships in business at time. So we're talking about that. We're talking about leadership for yourself. We want you to talk about those hard decisions to leave those people behind, even when you knew they weren't giving you the opportunity to move forward. Talk about how was it a hard decision? What were you thinking about to move on when obviously we understand the situation. It was great money working with them, and it was a great opportunity working with them. But it came to a point in the opportunity where you had to make the hard decision to say, I'm not going to move forward with this person. I'm going to go out on my own. So you become even more self reliant to say, I'm not going to take that partnership any longer. And I'm going to move on to say, if it's going to be a partnership, it's not going to be with them. What would you say to that? Making that hard decision.
A lot of that becomes personal because I'm a very, quicker to be all or nothing. Prime example with our relationship. If anyone doesn't know, so I actually met Christian after I think 2 or 3 months of working in the promotional marketing field. I was working with a popular cell phone brand for the specific cell phone that's no longer out, but and it was at Columbia Mall, and Christian was working at another electronic department store that we were partnering with. Well, I was doing my rounds and having fun, and Christian's energy just stuck out. From that very moment, Christian got my number, and he would want to introduce me some things, and I just knew this is familiar energy, and I would like to help you make more money than I see what you're making here. I didn't down him. I didn't look at it in that way, right? Mm-hmm. But that leads to where what you're talking about, making that decision. I'm that quick to be like, I'll help you. I can only help you with what I have, right? I was quick to help you. There was no ulterior motive. I was helping you with your resume. I helped you. Yeah, come on, you're gonna ride with me. Hey, yeah, we're gonna run to Target and get these khakis. They look better, so we can stand out and look a little more clean, right? So we can get more work, right? And I helped you with everything that I knew that I could, right?
Right.
It's the same thing. When I knew I was growing and those points were coming, and I could feel like they looked at me as, oh, you're really more like level 2, level 3, and I'm like, no, I'm a level 10 guy. I can take your company to that level, and I can bring way more. To me, it was just that simple. Okay, great. I enjoyed a level 2 and 3 with you. So I know it sounds very heartless, but it's not. Because when I give no strings attached. You know, with with the family in Annapolis, like I've done a lot of things that were even off the books to help them. Right. I've done with the other gentleman with the K name. Prime example. I helped design shirts. I helped do a lot of other things, but I didn't do it out of like, well, now he's gonna bump me up. Now he's gonna give me the bigger opportunity, the bigger contract. Yes, that was hopefully a great path to follow. But if he didn't do that, that does not change the fact that I'm a butterfly. Just because he doesn't see that, that's on him, right? And we can see that in a lot of different relationships, even with personal relationships, right? If you can date someone for 10 years and they don't want to marry you, and then you meet someone in 2 months and they propose, right? So I never ever in my life, because I've been such an underdog my whole life, this is normal for me, that I never took it as a, oh man, like what am I gonna do? It's literally like the very next moment I'm on to the next thing. Because once I have a feeling of what I can do, it's not about, okay, this is my role. This is gonna be, I look at it as like, this is my role. Who's gonna let me take that role and grow? Because what happened was that role that they didn't want to give me, they didn't want to let me manage an account. Grandma, you ain't let me manage a whole 20 bars in DC, right?
Right.
So that's where it's like, okay, Grand Marnier is significantly larger, but they saw it in me. And then the family in Annapolis did it. But if I would have let that energy harbor in me and fester, I wouldn't have been in no position to do what I needed to do to get the next bigger contract. So I think really you need to focus on, if you know what your next goal is, your next step, your next role. If you are a graphic designer somewhere and you're like, hey, I want to do graphic design and photography, and then that company's like, yeah, no, just stick. No, go grab your camera, put together your own portfolio and shop yourself. There's gonna be a company that will beg to have someone who can take pictures and edit the graphics. I would love you on my team. Reach out to me at _styles. I would love to have you on my team if you could shoot and edit, right? But just because ABC Plumbing doesn't see that of you, that doesn't mean that's not you.
Right.
So I always felt like that way. That's just me, man. I mean, no one can tell me that I'm less than what I feel.
And it's interesting because even when we talk about the like underdog mentality of like, hey, I've had to play the underdog in life in many different positions, and then you made the transition from more of a partnership type environment to where now you're definitely a lot more self-reliant and independent. Let's talk about the transition from having those partnerships, and it's not to say that you don't still do partnerships. We know you still do partnerships. It's just you've taken more of a lead role in the business that you're running right now. Could you talk about this transition into this new company? And you can even talk about the company, what it does, what blah blah blah. But I want you to talk about those things because there's been a transition now from working with people, seeing people, kind of like you say. Sometimes, a lot of times, it could be a senior, in a field, not in the field that you're in, but a field. Could you talk about that transition as well? Now going in from a partnership role with other entrepreneurs to more of like we're independent, we're self-reliant. If anything, we're hiring people to work for our company, not just asking for people to create partnerships. Even though we'll do 1099 contractors, we're still willing to have people to work with the company, foster a company mindset, and working with us, whether it's in branding, whether it's in partnership, but still they're working with you as opposed to you feeling like, oh, we working with them. And even if you still feel that reciprocation, it's just a transition process from when you first start out in business, because we're talking about like the early stage in business, the things that people don't talk about because they feel it but they don't say it. They feel that, oh man, I I don't feel like people treat me a certain way or blah blah. But when you start getting senior and seasoned in your field, when you start investing in yourself, when you start putting out better quality work, people start recognizing it, and then people have a higher admiration for you. But then once again, now you got tighter in your business practices. Your paperwork's a lot stronger. Your business thought process is a lot stronger. We even talked about it today. How you say you were nicer in the beginning in the business venture than you are now. Some people may find that weird. Like, how can you be nicer in the business venture than you are right now? Could you talk about that? I know I asked you a lot, but could you talk about that?
Definitely hit those. I'll try to remember the main topics there.
Yeah.
So yeah, getting started out, I definitely want to say there's never a safety net. Like there just isn't. You can kind of get that out of your mind. I get it if you're like, maybe if you're in school or you're going through some type of programming, you signed up for a course and you say, great, after this course, I'm gonna start my thing. But there's never gonna be a good time. There just isn't. I guess luckily for me, COVID kind of yanked that safety net from that that rug from under me, and I had to like jump off the cliff and kind of build the plane while learning how to fly, right?
Right.
So and I'm very, very fortunate to have a good support system where, just more mentally. And then given, just the climate of everything right now with COVID, businesses are shifting. Online is a lot more attractive. You can reach a lot more people, more people on their phones. So even with how you might have thought about starting your business last year, it's going to be different than now. So as you see, even that has changed. So at starting your business, the best advice I could give to that is, start it yesterday, because no matter what is going to happen, you're going to burn your hand on the stove. You're going to drop some glasses. You're going to get a couple flat tires along the way. There's going to be a couple of those WTF moments when you're like, I really could have avoided that, but you're going to learn. And then, and then jumping to the not being so nice. So just to be clear, I am still nice. I still love all my clients. I still always give more. If they ask for 4, I give them 5. If they pay me for 10, I give them 12. I always find ways to just give more in a creative way to help them. But, really just like my time is very valuable to me. I'm married. I love spending time with my wife. She's a foodie and I like to make drinks. So I bartend and she makes food, right? So that's like our time. And then I have 2 kids. My daughter is 14. My son is 4. So there's that time there because they're very unique in their own way. So I do feel like my time is valuable. And there were plenty of times, when I started out, I wouldn't say plenty. I'm gonna be honest. It was 3 or 4.
Right.
After the fourth one, after the fourth one, I was like, I get it. I see what you're doing, right? There were plenty of times where I just got burned, right? So I'm a photographer, videographer. So I create content, commercials, ads, YouTubes, you name it. Anything from doctors to dancers. I shoot video, photo, hybrid. So I really can go to any company and help create content to help, boost whatever it is you want to do, whether it's a rebrand, whether it's products, right? But long story short, talking with people would see some of my work and they'd be like, hey man, I saw your ad that you did. I would love to get you in and we can shoot this, or we got new products in. Could you do a product shoot? All these different things. I'm like, okay, great. And then I would say, all right, here's my price. You can just pay me when I get there, right? And I'll just throw it on my calendar, get things ready, organize the time with the family. And just like that, see how it got quiet? The shoot was supposed to start at 10. At 9:45, I'm calling them and I'm hearing this. And I'm like, man, they're not answering. Wait a minute, where are we gonna meet? They didn't tell me where, and then, 2 hours later, oh, my bad, man, my phone died. Oh man, you won't believe it, man. But right. So after but so many of those, I really understood this is why service-based people require a deposit and they make it non-refundable. I see, because I tried to do no deposit. And of course they loved it. Okay, cool. Yeah, put me down. Right. But now I notice that when people put down a deposit, I've had 3 no call, no shows in the past 8 days. I can show you on my calendar, screenshot it, right? Guess what? Nothing. I just went about my day. Right. Not like I don't look at it as like I took their money, but I told them, like, if you're telling me Monday, 10 o'clock, come and shoot my dog, I'm bringing her and I want to get some pictures out, I got you. I'm going to be there. My bag's going to be packed. My battery's going to be charged. My lights are going to be ready. So now if you don't come through, you don't respect the time, right? The person didn't answer the phone at 9 a.m., didn't answer the phone at 9:30. I went about my day. And then he texted me later saying he had troubles with some other things. All right, no problem. Let me know when you want to reschedule. So with that, I don't mind wiggling on the price here and there. That's no problem. I don't mind, trying to help out in a certain way, maybe meeting in a halfway location if someone lives a little far, because I really do just have a love and passion for shooting, creating. But I'm never gonna budge on my time. I'm just everyone. It's just you got to put a deposit after getting burned, but so many times it just doesn't feel good, and it makes people not value your time.
Right, and it's an interesting thing that you say that when you say, you value your time. So many people, they have the job mentality of working for hours. Let's talk about the work that you put in outside of the hours. When you even talk about doing those plus ones for your clientele, that's even more than just the dark hours of you perfecting and working on your craft. Talk about the hours that you put in before you made your first dime. Talk about how much money you put into the project before you made your first dime. Talk about your goal. Because when I sat with you and talked to you about it earlier, you said you set a goal for when you were going to make that money back. Talk about those things, please.
Yeah, definitely. So the time for me is, I would say honestly, like school, right? So long story short, I was actually shooting events on my cell phone. I just always loved creating little videos, and that led to someone just asking me to do an event. So I was already doing the editing on smaller apps and different things, and kind of grew and grew, right? When COVID hit, I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't go to work. I was supposed to start a new job, and so that got yanked out of my feet, right? So I literally, and like I said in the beginning, I love to learn. So I wasn't going to waste the time and sit here and pass COVID by, watching movies with the kids and then drinking at night. So I would wake up and go for my run. That was the only exercise I can do, and a couple of Zoom workouts. Come back, play with the kids, and from like 6 p.m., I would literally be on YouTube till about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, majority of nights, learning about editing, film editing, shooting with a DSLR, mirrorless cameras, lighting, photography. I mean, I was just looking up everything, like everything. And so that time, I honestly can say, like, I think one week I logged like almost 60 hours because I would wake up at like, I'd stay up to sometimes, let's say 3 in the morning. I would wake up at like 8 o'clock. The kids would wake me up, and then, get them situated. We couldn't go anywhere. And then I would go for a run around 12 and then come back, and then we'd eat and then chill. And then I'll do some more work, look up some more things. Some ideas would pop in my head. So like those hours of learning, I highly recommend you put it on your own shoulders. I'm not saying school isn't bad or school's bad or anything, but put that on yourself. You can reach out to a lot of amazing professionals. And then the money thing. Yeah. So I'm all for investing. I don't believe that there's such thing as a badly invested dollar. It's just a good idea gone to waste, right? So for me, I was all about investing it when I decided to go and purchase my first camera. And when I saw the price, I did all my research, and I was like, great, here's the bundle I'm going to get. And it was $2,200. And I told myself, I said, 60 days, I feel as though from all of my previous knowledge. So remember, I have all the different knowledge and IP, right? That they can't take back from, all the different marketing events, all Nike, Under Armour, you name it, right? All these other guys. Then I also have my acting career. Great. All those different commercials I did, M&T Bank, Under Armour. I worked with Under Armour on both sides, marketing and commercials. Can't think of all of them, but just you get the idea, right? I have all these different brands and companies and services that I've been able to learn from, on top of having March 3rd, I got the camera September. So as you guys see, I'm relatively new still. So you're talking about 6 months of like locked in schooling, learning, talking with people. I went and invested and got it and purchased a brand new MacBook Pro. So I just felt like if I cannot make $2,200 back within 60 days, which is 8 weeks, 8 divided by 2,000, that's about, right around, $200 a week. I felt as though that meant it was $50 a day. If I couldn't make $50 a day with a professional camera, I need to reevaluate. Is this something I want to do? Because all I would say is evaluate. Again, I didn't say if I didn't hit it, I would quit. There's a difference. I said evaluate, because that would have to step back and look, okay, What shoots am I doing? What clients am I pitching to? What clients am I allowing? Because remember, not every client you should allow. What market am I looking to really crack into? But what ended up happening, it was after a month and some change, it was about 6.5 weeks, 7 weeks. I cleared the 2,200 mark. And after that, I took the parachutes off and tightened the belt and said, this is what we're doing. And I just went 100% in.
Right. And what's interesting in that venture is that you have obviously pretty much have, pretty much put that in position where you're living off that, so many people were in COVID times and we're sitting there twiddling their thumbs, trying to figure out an idea, scrambling. And it's like you say, yesterday is when you should have started a love or a passion. So obviously, you love and passion with photography. You showed that from doing it on the iPhone, and then you transitioned into a bigger product, and then you actually jumped the leap of faith and said, I'm going to invest in myself, one. And then not only did you invest in yourself, you set deadlines for yourself, you set timelines for yourself, like any traditional real business has. A lot of people say, oh, I don't have a college degree, I don't have a business degree. Neither does Stives. But he took IP from other environments that he was in, that he knows big businesses use. And how do you have a big business? You got to model big businesses. So when we talk about him going from the E to the S and now into the B, where you have a business where you are creating partnerships, and not only that, you're hiring people. You're creating those subcontractors working for your company because you have to outsource the work. Because people start seeing your name, and now that they see your work, they want you. But because you can't do it, you're outsourcing it and doing what an EIN is supposed to do, which is called an employer identification number. You're employing people. You're employing people. So let's talk about now where you've had to bring on a partner recently. And, what made you bring on a partner? Are you a person that is okay with partnership, or do you prefer to do things by yourself? Do you feel like you like outsourcing things and don't really want them in-house? What made you hire someone recently and bring them in-house? Um, and I understand that there's context to the relationship, but even if you want to elaborate on that, that's perfectly fine. But what made you hire this person in particular, or work with this person as far as partnering with them in the company? Because there's been a company made. At first, it might have started out as some sole prop, hobby status, and it didn't start out as a hobby. You see, he said immediately, I identified this as a business. I'm going to get in it. I'm going to set timelines. Not only did he set timelines, he said, okay, I'm going to set a financial goal. He set a financial goal. And he said, okay, we're going to do this. He hit the goal. Okay, he didn't get stuck there. Now we're talking about what happens when you can't do all the work yourself. Now, maybe you can do all the work by yourself, but what's your thought process? Is it, let me do it all the work by myself? Is it one of those things, hey, I need to hire this person, and why did you hire that person or work with that person?
Yeah. So really, it was so after I hit my goal, I still didn't even have a company name. I didn't. I was just out here. I knew I was confident in myself and I was gonna grow and get better. And I didn't have a company name. People were just paying me for commercials and shoots to my name. Like I'd like, yeah, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. You can tie it to a pigeon. Here's my address. And I knew that in order to really level up, you would need to have a company name so you could do contracts and things of that nature. So I came up with a company name. And at the time that I came up with a company name, I do a monthly post, which I reminds me I got to do mine coming up, right? So I do a monthly post, just like my favorite pictures from the past month's shoot. And when one of my first few monthly posts, I think it was my second one, right? So right after I hit my goal, my second one, I started thinking of a company name, and an old friend had reached out, and she was just like, "Hey, let's say you have a Sony. I really like your pictures. What lenses do you use?" And so I was talking to her. We went back and forth about lenses. Then it kind of hit me. It was like, "Wait a minute, do you have a Sony?" She's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yo, let's go out and shoot." She's like, "Sure." She's like, I was thinking about trying to get some money with the camera, but like I don't know, like I see a lot of great pictures. And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, we just got to get our reps in, right?" So we go out and shoot and we talk, and one thing led to another. I brought her on her first paid gig, and she was super excited about that. And she fit so perfectly. It was like, we don't know how we didn't see it at first. She has a great eye for photography, for capturing like those tighter emotional shots, those headshot style. Whereas though, like I'm a little bit more video based, but I do love photography. So I like doing a little bit more of like shooting through things and like leading lines, shadows, right? Mm-hmm. But together, collaboratively, it's D Wade and LeBron. Like it just is, right? Mm-hmm. So We didn't see that at first. And then after like her third paid gig, she started her own page where she started her own page. No, and it wasn't, again, it wasn't, she started her own page, KTB Photography. So I was like, awesome. And I was shouting her out. And yeah, it wasn't, she didn't, because I had came up with a name, well, a company name, and it was Prime Productions. And then so it still wasn't, I didn't make an LLC. I created a logo, but it wasn't, I was just kind of like, okay, this is where I want to be. But I need
What
to figure
time
out,
was this in the year? What time, like, did you like because you pretty much just given us a time frame of like, you started studying early in COVID. That's probably like,
yeah, March,
March. We'll say
March
March, and then
2020.
right, and then bam, you got the September, you got the camera. When did you go
Yep,
out with this
September
young lady?
30th.
Right. So when did you go out with this young lady? See how fast things move, ladies and gentlemen. Where you make your $2,000 back in a business venture once again. This isn't. It's not overnight success, but for all the people that think you got to be poor forever, you don't. You got to get off your rusty dusty and create. You got to have confidence in yourself. You got to have some fearless moments in your life. You don't have to be. You don't have to act. And even though you might have fear, you still got to have courage. You can have both at the
Yeah.
same time. But point being is, I'm gonna keep back on track because I can digress. So let's just say you got the camera in September. When did you start working with this young lady? And then bam, once again, obviously, young ladies, you're working with her now on more of a full time collaborative, and something like this is a venture for both of us right now, and we are doing this together. Type thought process.
Wow. Oh, okay. So I actually found the post because I'm not a habitual poster on social media. So I'm actually looking at when she posted saying I only have one lens, right? And that was December 2nd.
Okay.
So from December 2nd, our first time shooting was December 7th, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just me. I'm all about pulling triggers. I'd rather be wrong than thoughtful than to think it out, because at the very end of the day, published is better than perfect. If I'm telling you, published is way better than perfect. And that goes for any industry. It's just way better just to get out and actually do it. So after she sent that message, I DM'd her. I was like, hey, come out and shoot. Let's just have some fun. Maybe you can learn some things. Maybe you'll teach me. Right. So we came out, and it was crazy because she had pictures of Joe Biden on her, not Joe Biden. What's the other, Bernie Sanders. So she had like got access because she knows a lot of good people. And so she got like press access with her camera before she really knew how to use it. And so she had pictures of Bernie Sanders on her camera. And I was like, wow. So you got a good connection. So we already had like, a personal connection because we grew up in the same city. We all knew a lot of the same people, no problem. So then from there, we ended up, doing a few more shoots, just us going out. And then after getting her, on her first paid gig, it was one of those that like, she realized, the goods and bads, the reason why you need to get out and do it. You can't practice too much. You have to get out and do it. And I would say that was from December 2nd, it's April, I would say till about January, but New Year's, man, like it was just hit the ground running because, so it's my partner, KB. She's on my page if you want to check her out. KTB Photography for now. Actually, we changed it. So we changed it to our business page. But long story short, we just had such a good chemistry. She's a lot more reserved, but very precise, very admin. She knows how to write contracts because she manages another business page on Instagram that has 1 million followers. So she gets a lot of revenue there for paid posts. So she understands contracts, algorithms, all these great things, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have me, vibrant, a little more jump in the mud, let's pull the trigger. I can come with some crazy ideas, right? So when you kind of mix those two, it's kind of perfect. It kind of is. Now, I don't like saying that. I know people like, of course you would say your company's perfect. No, I'm not saying my company's perfect. I mean, our chemistry is literally perfect. It's just, when we do birthday parties and live events that are like really loud, she's not shy. That's not her personality, right? But I'm in the mix, dancing with people in the camera and then getting them hyped, getting those shots, And then when we're doing certain shots that require a little more focus, right? She seems to always hit those shots. When we go through our pictures, we're so amazed when we're like, oh, I didn't get that. And I look over and her shot is perfect. right? Or she's like, oh, did you get the one kid who had the face paint? And I'm like, yeah, I got it because I shot that over the DJ booth because I wanted to get that with the DJ with the turntable showing that people were having fun, right? So we just balance each other out so well, and we know a lot of the same people as well as a lot of the opposite people that, everyone started saying us. People would reach out and say, hey, can I book you and KB? Or they would reach out to her and say, hey, can I book you and Styles? And then after a while, we were like, I think we should really take this seriously.
Okay. So you say
And
you're
then
gonna
that
take
was
it
about two
seriously.
weeks ago. And now we have,
You said 2 weeks ago. Okay,
as
so
far
we're in
as us,
March.
sorry, not yeah, yeah. So 2 weeks ago, we said take it seriously as far as, so she still has a full-time job. She has a great business page on Instagram that she runs ads on that she makes a good revenue off of. So this was a passion that turned into, whoa, okay, like I'm making, a nice couple extra $100 every few days with Stives doing this, right? And for me, this is my full time. But when I say take it seriously, we're talking about our partnership. We make, like I said, LeBron and D Wade references of like how just we flow so well. But about 2 weeks ago, she was like, okay, we're getting an LLC. We're gonna get a web page. We're gonna do contracts. And then now we have all those things in play.
Right, and you see how fast those things can come together. So it's based off once again that IP, which is so critical. Experience, you can't beat it, and you can't. Sometimes you can't pay for it. And you can pay for it. It doesn't have to be your own. You don't have to pay it yourself. You can pay somebody money and buy their experience. But I want to highlight 2 points before we get off of here. The first one is you've always had this heart, and that's probably why you won that medal because you want to see people win and help them win. And so many people think business is cutthroat. Like we even said in this episode, you can't be nice either. We're not saying you're not a nice guy, but you can't be nice. But you, even if you can't be nice, and you got to say, okay, I have to charge you if you don't show up. I have to charge you like a doctor charges you. Fine. And if any other fees are associated with, fine. How did we connect? Because you were always willing to help other people make money around you. A complete stranger. Where does that come from? What makes you still do this to this day? Has there been even any negatives of that? Or is it just positive? Oh, you've always done well because you said, I want to help someone else make some money and do better.
Yeah, no, I personally don't see any positives. And again, as much as I love helping, you don't help everyone. Like you can kind of feel someone's energy out. You can feel if they have ulterior motives or if they're very selfish. So yes, while some people might, if I share something that's very unique, if I do a commercial, oh man, hey, I saw you were doing acting. Can you get me on a commercial? It's not always just me stopping what I'm doing, getting their headshots and walking them to an audition, right? But um, you can speak to this personally. I love to help, but yo, come on, Penguin, you got to flap your wings if you want to fly, right? So like I will help, but you're gonna work just as hard as I'm gonna work for you. I will never work hard. No one should ever work harder for you than you work for yourself. So, like I said, the few things I remember doing, and I'm not saying that to blow myself up or to like shadow anything, because Christian has done a lot for me as well. But like the few things that I've done, Christian has showed up. So yes, I might have helped him pick out better khakis, helped him with his resume because marketing resumes were a little different.
Yeah.
But like Christian showed up. He showed up and he found other people. He's like, yo, I found this other person at this other event and they said, do this. I'm like, bet, let's go. And we can go get on this other program. So like, you still worked hard. So I think that's kind of the thing where it's easy for me to vet out the people who are scared. Someone be like, man, I saw you flying. I want to fly. When you get to the edge of that cliff and you're looking down at, 500 feet below, not everyone's going to jump. So when I jump, it's easy for me to keep moving if you don't jump because you're still there. But you've jumped with me. My partner KB's jumped with me, and there's other people that made me jump. So
Right.
I kind of look at it that way. Like, I kind of set it up to where it's like, hey, you can call me anytime. I'm down to help, but it's not gonna be. I'm not gonna hold your hand.
Okay. Now, and that's a very important thought process. This is someone that's still successful, very nimble. Obviously, has been able to build a whole new company right now, outside of what he previously had, outside of a military career. This isn't, oh, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I'm an old dog. I can't learn new tricks. This isn't an old dog, new trick status. He's over 35 years old, and he's made the transition. He's put the $2,000 into the company. He's reinvested in the company. We could sit here and talk to you all right now about what? Reinvesting in your company. Stavs, talk about how much money you've reinvested into the company.
I
Uh,
can honestly count 12,000, but it's honestly probably more.
okay.
Honestly, like, and it's not, and then you can talk to a lot of business owners. 12,000 is really not a lot.
He's not.
Just over time with, websites, software. My MacBook is 3,000. My camera kit was 2,200. New lens was 1,000. Bags, lights, stands, cases, microphones, more lights, batteries. I mean, I could go on and on. But like honestly, like if you're gonna have to make some changes. I shop at Marshall's. I don't drink Starbucks, but I have a leased car. Right. So there's certain places I spend and certain places I don't. So if you're not ready to really invest in your company, it's not gonna work. You're gonna have to make a few changes. Guess what? You might not be able to, go shop at Sephora every weekend. You might not be able to always get the new Air Max that drop, for the summertime, and they come out with 8 colors every week. I get it. Who doesn't like new shoes? I love new shoes, but you're going to have to make some changes in your life. And when those changes come, you're going to see it come back twofold. And the beauty of a lot of those changes are when you start making those changes, you don't do it from I'm eating, good food to now let me eat ramen noodles to save money. No, you make the changes that are necessary, that you find out, okay, is this me shopping for clothes, or me, whatever your vices may be, is that worth you not growing your business? What's going to end up happening is a catch-22. As more money comes in, you're going to realize you never really needed those things.
That's
And then
crazy. That's a great point. That's a great point.
I mean, I'm very much one to contest. I like shoes. I like cool socks, right? I'm not a fancy or fashion guy at all, but I do. I like, so like what ends up happening is it's like, yo, I can find some really cool shoes for 30, 40, $50 instead of paying 150, instead of 200, right?
Right.
It makes sense for me to lease my car. Now I have more reliability. Okay, now where else can I budget money? Okay, I'm not going to be going out to eat and spending $8 to $10 on the fancy little croissants and $7, coffees at Starbucks. There's lots of ways you spend money frivolously that if you reallocate that money, you're bringing it back into the tree, which is bringing you back into more fruit. And then when you get more fruit, you're gonna realize like this is actually better having more fruit. I'm good on the coffee.
Right. And so, what is the vision? Is it to get back to where you can buy Starbucks? Is it, is that the vision to where you can do the daily croissants and things of that nature? Some people say, okay, I'll make that sacrifice. How long do I got to live low before I can get high? What is your goals? How do you think about your goals? But, you got to set goals. We know you're ex-military, you
Sure.
set goals. So,
Yeah.
what are your goals? Do you set quarterly goals, yearly goals? How do you
Yes.
set
Oh,
those
yes. Yes.
goals for the venture?
100%.
For the venture,
Oh, a
what's
hundred
your
percent, man.
vision right now going forward?
I can tell you my 3-part goal, and
Okay.
then that's where I know I wasn't directing my energy. I've always had a lot of energy, like and I say that humbly, meaning that I've always just been like, if someone wants to do something, I'm trying to go all the way in, even if it's not something like whatever. Like someone's like, oh, I want to throw a birthday party. I'm like, all right, bet. Let's get some lights that we can connect to the light to the ceiling and then have fun, right? I always just was like, let's go about everything. But I never really had good focus. So like even right now, my weekly goal, which I like better than even my monthly goal,
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
right,
Same.
is better because it keeps
Yeah,
me accountable by the day.
super,
You know,
super. Yes.
so like it's easy to be like, hey, this month I'm gonna make $5,000. Very tangible in a lot of industries. That's very doable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like if I set my weekly goal and I'm constantly overhitting my weekly goal, I look up, I've made 7,000. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah. So really for me, I think we need to set more micro goals because that allows us to adjust faster. If you set a monthly goal, you're talking about 30 to 31 days before you make an adjustment. Of course, maybe the day 28, 27, you might look up and be like, okay, I'm only at $2,000 and I wanted to make 5. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna hit that. I don't have a $3,000 contract coming in. But if I'm adjusting by the week, I can look at it and say, man, I'm really busy. I took 10 clients this week and I didn't hit my weekly goal. Okay, my number is way too low, right? I can adjust that 7 days and 3 days. right? So
Hmm.
that's where I kind of look at, I think smaller goals really help the larger. So
Definitely. So we appreciate you, Stops, because we obviously can sit here and talk all day about entrepreneurship, investing in yourself, even investing in others, something that you invested into, Trust Christian and Evolve, directly and indirectly for many years now, and one of those people to say, "Oh, what's going on behind the scenes?" So I always wanted to, it's always awesome to kind of have people come out of the shadows, people that we can feature and say, "Hey, look, like there's quite a few people that really do." They make the changes. They become nimble. They don't let those situations, such as even COVID, kind of destroy their thought process or their lifestyle, their emotional stability, or otherwise. When somebody tells you, "Oh, I had a job lined up and it fell through," it's like, okay, they're experiencing the same heartache that everyone else is going through that situation. So if everybody feels like they're on the island, like, "Oh, this problem's only happening to me." Some people even had jobs and still didn't make the transition. So how's someone better than you because they had a job and they didn't make the transition? See, no one's better than anybody. But what we got to do is get past that better than anybody mentality and get focused on doing what we need to do. And that's what he did. He said, okay, you know what? My other passions haven't worked. And what's crazy is they did work. Once again, when someone says I work with Grand Marnier, when I work with, Fortune 500 to a marketing company, not everybody's done that. Not everyone's won an award in the military. You don't win awards for doing nothing. You get awards like he did for trying to save lives. So he transitioned from the military. He transitioned into civilian life. He had jobs. He went into the businesses. This is the same 80% mentality. But when you get into the 20%, when you get into the 1%, the people that are entrepreneurs in the society, they take ownership of their life, of their study. He took ownership. He took control over his time. Think about it. He didn't have a job. He had that lined up. That didn't go through. He took control of his time though. How many people are sitting at home still right now? Oh man, I ain't got the time. I ain't got the time to do it. When am I gonna find the time to do it? How do you not have the time and you got a job? That means you got money. See, you gotta have money to have time. You can't say my time's more valuable and not have the money. So if your time is more valuable, you got the money. He had to make his time more valuable than $22 an hour and a new job he was going to get. He had to create it out of thin air. Did that. September, new camera, invested some savings. He dipped into the savings that everybody doesn't want to dip into. For what? Not for a real emergency, for investment in himself. Bam, invested in himself. Bam, had great relationships, had IP, continues to go through that thought process, using continuous old education to further his skill set. See, skills pay the bills, ladies and gentlemen. What was he doing from 7 p.m. at night to 3 p.m. and 3 a.m. in the morning? But how many people say, "Oh man, I gotta get to sleep on time. I gotta wake up. I gotta do this. I gotta do that." Still had a quality family life. I blocked out family time. I blocked out business time. So he's letting you know you have to block out business time and family time. You can't make excuses. He didn't make excuses. He made the time. And then what? Next thing you know, months later, it's paying off. The man's flying around the country. Doing what? Doing shoots for people. It's so easy to build a business nowadays through social media. He doesn't even have to post every day. That's how sweet his business is. This gentleman, we're sitting here talking to him. He doesn't even have to advertise his business. His business is working off pure referrals at this point. And he's been in business for less than a year.
6 months tomorrow.
You
six
know,
months, April 1st.
and people want to sit here and say, "Oh man, I don't know how I'm gonna get it going," and this, that, and the third. Of course, he didn't know that 6 months later he was just gonna be starting an LLC. Maybe you're hung up on the name right now. Oh man, I'm hung up on the name. I'm hung up on the entity. What should I do? LLC, C corp, trust. Which one should I do? Trust
Just
Christian.
do it. Just start it. If you love baking, just bake cakes. Worry about that later. When you get 45 clients knocking at your door, it will come to you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You're gonna have a need for a bank account. You're gonna be like, "Damn, I really don't want to get hit with the taxes on this." Well, now you
Yeah.
got a real need. Everybody wants to say, "Oh, I need to be in trust," or "Oh, this and know that," but what do you have to bring to the table? People say, "Oh, I need to be in trust, Christian." Oh, I need to be in an LLC or C corp. Which one do I get in first? But ain't made a dime. Ain't even got a bit. Not. Here we go. Here's the infamous "I'm not gonna do anything" mentality. Hey, Styles, did you have a business plan written out before you did it?
No.
Thank you. Oh, you gotta have a business plan, Trust Christian. It's gonna help me stay focused. He damn sure was focused if he made back his initial investment in less than the 12 weeks they said, or less than the 60 days. But oh no, I like this, Christian. I like that. Well, this is a question of how bad you want it. You're either gonna be an E, you're gonna be an S, you're gonna be a B, which he's transitioned to from going to do the shoots himself to doing a B, where you're working with people, you're partnering with people, you're hiring people. We've already introduced people to him that can partner up and work with him nationally. And then you transition into the I, where you're investing, where the money's working for you. So, we appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. We know that this is a different style of episode because it says an interview with an entrepreneur investor. Some people say, "Oh man, that entrepreneur investor, he was just doing it from the beginning. He just got it off the ground." Yeah, and it's profitable. Are your ventures profitable? The whole goal is to make some money, not to just say you're in trust, not to just say you're in business. Oh, I'm an entrepreneur because I'm a hustler. No, you're not. You're not an entrepreneur because you're a hustler. You're just a hustler.
The definition of entrepreneur is a is just that. You have to invest with high risk. I took the own risk. My wife didn't give me the money. I didn't take a loan. I didn't ask mom and dad. It was I put that in. A high risk for a business. If you're not putting your own risk into it with your own finances, you're not an entrepreneur.
And this goes in even to people that listen to us that want to listen to us for the trading. Yo, oh man, this, then the third. I'm gonna play around in the paper account. Here we go. Once again, Styles could have just been shooting stuff and not making no money. He said, I gotta get in there. I gotta get some skin in the game. I gotta drive to a meeting. So in the beginning, he drove the meetings before he got paid. Oh man, I don't know if I'm making any money. He drove the meetings before he got paid. He said, okay, I need to adjust this in the business plan because it's not working. He was nimble. These are relevant points for you all to think about as you move forward in your business, in your investment career. Are you nimble? Are you setting weekly goals? Do weekly goals fit better than monthly goals? We hear all this, oh, do this, do that, but what works for you? Found what works for him. What he did in this venture, he may not have done in other ventures. You heard what he said. He was waking up at 3 a.m. He was answering emails at dinner. He may have changed now, may have evolved now because the business venture doesn't have the same demands or needs. He's adapted. When COVID hit, he was looking for a job. Guess what? While COVID was going on, he started studying on another passion. Okay, while COVID was going on, he invested in himself. $2,200, fat out the pocket. Bam! I need to get this. Bam! He drove the meetings before before he ever received the check, and then he did the work before he received the check, and he still was investing. And bam! Now you're at a place where, hey, I can hire people. Less than 6 months. Could he hire more people? Of course. And that's what he's going to continue to do. Because that's the mindset. It's being nimble, being functional, being able to be adaptive, being able to be focused on taking action. Appreciate Styles for tuning in with us. Styles, you're more social media oriented. Feel free to shout out your social media. If people want to check out your work, they can actually hire you for work for their own events. And we know that you're hiring even photographers. We know that you're hiring videos. We know that you are vetting these people to see if there's something that can build the brand name working with you or otherwise, because that's what you do. You help others out. It's not just, oh, Styles needs to have a company. We didn't bring him on here just for him to talk about his company. Yes, he can talk about his company, but we're talking about the perspective of, hey, you uh, he doesn't mind working with people. He's not going to work with everybody, but he's gonna work to hire other people because because he understands strengths and weaknesses. He's a team player. He's a leader. This is the mentality you have. But what's interesting is the person he's working with is just as much of a leader as he is. She's not less of a leader. She just has a role, like he has a role. It's not leader over leader. It's leaders working together. So we appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Styles, feel free to shout out your social media. We're going to put it in the chat anyways because everybody wants to, obviously know, what is it that you, where can they find your work and possibly reach out for mindset and things of that nature.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So definitely IG is the best way. At underscore STYVES. And to check out some of my work, you can see it right in my profile link. in there. You'll see this link that leads to a Pexel site. You'll see any and everything. I love to shoot almost anything moving or anything not moving, from chickens to cars, old cars, new cars, portraits, families. I mean, I just love it all. Fashion. I mean, you name it. And then as well, I am on Twitter @_styles. And then Facebook, I'm not as active. I really would love to drive the traffic more to Instagram, because I feel like that's just a more creative platform. And if you are within the world and you would love to connect with me, we can connect remotely. I've worked with projects. And true to this date, my very first client is a doctor in Indiana who I've never met. So I am all about finding creative ways for us to help each other. And I still work with her to this day.
So it's underscore styles
Yes,
at
underscore
mentions.
styles.
Okay, at mention
Yep.
underscore st wherever he is. Okay, great.
Yeah. And I follow everyone back. I would love to connect and help anyone in any kind of way.
Appreciate you, man. Definitely always appreciate you. You've been a blessing in our life, and we always appreciate you for just everything you stand for, what you do, man. And just being an inspiration because
Oh man, I forgot a cool story. I know you say you want to get off, but man,
okay,
entrepreneur. Remember our first endeavor?
yeah, slightly. It's been so long. I
Oh
got gray
no,
hairs on this stuff now, man.
uh-oh.
I
No,
got.
man. Remember when we invested in the bracelets and then we got a
Oh yeah,
sponsor?
yeah, that was major, man. That was major. That was major. It's so funny
That,
that we earned a lot of respect from that from people. People don't even, they might not get it, but yeah, share that story. That's a great story to share. See, and that's what I
yeah,
mean. Like,
so
it's so subtle, man. To end up like, as you evolve through your business ventures, like, yeah, that was a hustle, but it was still like a quick business venture. It was an investment, like hustle or not. It was still like if you treat things like a business, it can turn out like a business.
yeah.
But just like overall, yeah, talk about that entire experience, just like the way we started it, the
So
way we put it together. Like me, and it's crazy because we
yeah,
could talk about so much. Like we've been through so much, man.
but
Like
that one is pretty
you know,
pivotal to this, to this
yeah,
conversation, because
yeah,
we talk about, pulling the trigger. I always say that, pull the trigger. Someone say, I was thinking, pull the trigger. That's what I'm gonna tell you. you
hmm
know. So, but no. So Christian and I, it was we were in Maryland, and they were having the Million Man March, and Christian came up with this idea saying the rubber the elastic bands, wristbands, the ones you can put cool things on them, and we're gonna come up with a cool thing on them, and we can go down there and sell them for $5. It's gonna be 1 million people, and then we'll be able to make back maybe 5 to 10,000. So I was like, you know what? Guess what? Y'all know what I said. Let's go.
all right,
So with me already being apt to creating on my Chromebook, I had a Chromebook at the time, so I came up with a design and everything. Christian was like, yo, I like that design. I like that. And then we looked up some bands, and we were thinking like, man, if we can get like 1,000 bands, we can make like $5,000, split that down the line,
all right,
and we'll each make 2,500. That's a cool day's work.
all right,
No problem. We talked to strangers before for all these other companies. We might as well put that to ourselves.
all right.
So we did the design, found the numbers, and then we were like, oh man, we don't have $1,000 to buy 1,000 bands. Cause it was like one of those, if you pay 200, you can get 100. And if you pay 500, you can get 3. But if you pay 1,000, you get 1,000. So we were like, man, all right. So we reached out to a good friend who we knew had it. And then he made us do a business proposal. So we did it.
Yeah,
And then he was like, okay. He's like, well, listen. He's like, because I know y'all working hard, I respect that. He's like, I think it was 20% of what he invested.
all
So
right,
he paid the 1,000. He's like, just bring me back 1,200 and everything's cool. He's like, I'm not worried about dipping in y'all pockets. I can respect that. I love that y'all, boom. So we did it. He bought it, sent it to Christian's house. Boom. Man, we get down there. So the first 3 hours, we were selling them for $5. It was going so slow. We were like, man, yo, it's 9:30. We got down there like 6. We were like, yo, all right, we need to ramp it up. So then we started doing them 2 for $5. Things are moving and
yeah.
moving. And then we look up and it's like 3 o'clock and we're like, yo, we got so many left. And we just literally just blacked out. I was like, yo, I'm not leaving Washington, D.C. with at least the money that was loaned to us, minimum, at least. And he agreed. And we just blacked out, yo, $1 a piece. And we just jammed them off. And we got them off. And somehow we made back a few dollars more, nothing to write home about than the $1,000 that this investor gave us.
Yeah.
Right. And so now, even now to this investor, he's still close. We still talk to him. He still trains me, but like, it's one of those. I actually kept that bracelet and he actually kept a few. I should have brought it just so you could, because I have like two. I actually still wear that Million Man March bracelet because it reminds me to don't reach out to investors first. Because if me and Christian would have just put in what we had, if we just would have necessarily, let's say we went in and got and invested 200 of our own dollars, right? And got, no, let's say we did the 300 for whatever 200 bands,
Yeah.
we probably would have made 1,000 and then we would have both had 500.
Right.
But then instead, because we try to be so greedy, get an investor, we ended up with nothing.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Sometimes a lot of
Yep.
entrepreneurs they be
And
waiting for
then, yep.
somebody else to fund their dream and stuff. And it's crazy because
Yep.
like, man, that number sounds so small nowadays. I'm like, damn, $1,000. That don't sound
I
like
know
it's big.
I
I was just
know.
like, damn, we couldn't come up with that. We just scrounging to get some little
I
crumbs and
know. I
crap,
know it's
man.
so
It's like,
funny.
and then you talk about now you in a business venture where you made your money back in less than 60 days. Now, granted, but there was there was some elements to that story that weren't told. Like, it was a last minute situation. It was like, oh man, we came up with this idea last minute, and then I was just like, all right, we should do these bands or whatever. And it's crazy, man. You go through the years and you come up with these crazy ideas, and you're always looking to just do something dynamic. But even highlighting that one small subtlety of just experience that it teaches you, it's like, are you greedy? I appreciate you pointing that out because that's critical for any entrepreneur that's willing to listen to this episode this long and this through. For sure, that's a great nugget for you. You have to question that in business. And when you're faced with that decision, do you just go get investment money or do you just start where you are? It's an unfortunate thing because so many people don't want to start where they are. And in turn, they just end up not having the level of control and creativity. Like you said, we could have been more relaxed. Why? Because we knew we had to make the investors' money back. Like we had to make it back
Right.
20%. Like we were already in the hole essentially at this point. Like we were in the hole, so it was like, okay, we gotta make the money back. And then it's interesting because, like you say, if we would have just did it with a smaller scale, we could have, just did it with a lot more relaxation and still earn the respect of the investor. Like, hey, you guys invested in yourself, and we did earn the respect of the investor. Heck, yeah, every investor. What do you mean? They just earned 20% on their money. Like that's why I always appreciate this guy because he shows you that capital raising is something that you can do in many different thought processes, many different avenues if you're just willing to take the risk once again. And then at the same time, obviously, he was able to handle the pressure where obviously we had to perform. Like we owe someone money at that point, so we had to perform. Um, we had to perform, and we did. We performed. We got them their money back, and yeah, those bands. It's funny because, like I said, it was just a great experiment. A great risk. It's one of those like if we were 16 and 16 and 15, those would have been great early bumps on the head. Whereas we were in our mid 20s or whatever, in our 20s, having to learn those mistakes in business. Whether it's taking investors' money too early, and not investing in yourself fast enough, not just depending solely on yourself. That's a hard reality for people to face. Is oh, I got to depend on myself solely for this business venture in the beginning heavily. Styves does a lot of work for his one business venture currently. With the video and the editing and the taking the phone calls and answering the emails. Like those, like when you start a business, you just don't start a business and it doesn't need admin work and it doesn't need accounting and it doesn't need this and it doesn't need that. He had to take those things into account. But sometimes people get hung up on what step do I need to take first. You just need to take a step. So we appreciate you, Styles, for tuning in with us, and just having that real entrepreneur mindset. Because this is a very relevant conversation for 2020. A lot of people are sitting on skill sets like you have in their area, and they can literally dominate like you in their local areas because they have the background and the relationships, and they just needed to know, hey, you know what, someone did it in a relatively short period of time. Whether that's for any other type of skill set, learning how to do hair, cut hair, do nails, any of those skill set type mentalities. Those things can come to you very, very quickly, and you can grow from those positions. And so, we appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Styles for tuning in. We look forward to bringing them back on at one point in time. But feel free to reach out to Styles at mention underscore STYVES. Feel free to reach out Christian at Trust Christian if you're going to deal with our workshop coming up on May 1st. We got our workshop coming up on May 1st. We look forward to seeing everybody there. Tickets are going, of course. We already 30 days out, pretty much, or 31 days out for an event. We already know what's going to happen by pretty much the before. But you know how people, they be waiting for their money from the tax return. So, it is open to non-trustees. It's not just for trustees. Feel free to reach out, get the flyer. We'll get you over the flyer for the event. You can learn how much it is and then, get in from there. It is a reserved, it is a private event. You do have to reserve a seat. We do have limited seating. So, once again, that event is May 1st. Feel free to reach out, Christian at trustchristian.com. Otherwise, appreciate you all for tuning in live, listen, replay. We're going to do another episode this week. Talk to y'all soon. Peace.